I want you to close your eyes for a second.
Hmm.
Imagine you are a soccer ball,
Okay. I'm picturing it.
but you aren't just sitting there on the grass.
Hmm.
You're in the middle of this cosmic high-stakes match.
Hmm.
And the harder you get kicked, the faster you fly, and the better it is for the game.
Okay.
In fact, the ultimate goal here is to get kicked so hard that you actually break the kicker's leg.
That is a very specific and slightly violent image to start us off with.
It is, isn't it? But look, that isn't my metaphor. That is the opening hook of the document we are digging into today. We're looking at a speech called Analysis of the Present Time and the Blessing, which is delivered by the Reverend Sun Myung Moon.
The founder of the Unification Church.
Exactly. He gave this speech back on June 13, 1982 at Belvedere in New York. And, regardless of what you think or know about the Unification Church, or the Moonies, as they were often called.
Right, in the media at the time.
Yeah, this text is a fascinating piece of rhetoric.
It really is.
Yeah.
And just to set the table here, our mission today is really to decode the internal logic of this speech. We aren't here to, endorse the theology or condemn the politics.
No.
We're here to analyze a specific strategic worldview. It's a document that mixes Cold War geopolitics, a very unique take on marriage, and this really distinct concept of heavenly spies.
So buckle up. We are diving into a world where being persecuted is actually a superpower.
And we have to start with the context, because that soccer ball thing doesn't make any sense without it. It's 1982. This was not a quiet time for Hoon.
No, not at all. The U.S. government was coming down on him and hard. He was facing tax evasion charges. Public perception was shifting from curiosity to outright hostility.
Most people would be playing defense, right? Trying to minimize the damage, maybe lay low for a bit.
But Moon does the exact opposite.
Yeah.
He just leans into the hostility. And that right there brings us back to the soccer match. Okay, so Moon sets the stage. He says there are two teams, God's team and Satan's team.
Right.
Pretty standard religious setup.
Right.
But the gameplay is what's unique. He asks this strategic question: which side is taking the offensive?
And the answer, according to his theology, is always Satan. In this worldview, evil is the aggressor. It strikes first. It breaks the rules.
So Satan is ruthless. He tries to kill his opponents to get a quick win.
Exactly. Which implies that God's strategy is what? Just to sit back and take it.
It seems that way at first, but it's actually a strategy of defense, an active defense. He calls it the counteroffensive.
And this is the counterintuitive part that really drives the whole speech. God never strikes first. Because, aggression itself is against the rules of the universe. So God has to wait. He has to take the hit.
It's this core idea in his theology. When Satan attacks and harms the innocent, he violates the rules, and God creates this moral claim to move one step higher.
It's a strategy of winning by losing.
Yeah, he calls it indemnity. It's like a cosmic lawsuit. When Satan kicks the ball, he incurs a debt. And Moon argues that every time Satan strikes, God is elevated. You accumulate moral capital.
And Moon places himself right at the center of this. He calls himself the super soccer ball.
I love that phrase, the super soccer ball.
It's so sticky, right?
Yeah.
He says, wherever I go, every nation is kicking me. But here's the physics of this spiritual soccer ball. It doesn't burst.
No, and this is where it gets weirdly funny, but also very serious. He says the ball gets bigger and heavier the more it's kicked. And why?
Because it's filling up with his followers.
Right. It's this metaphor for resilience and growth through persecution. He actually jokes that eventually the ball will be so heavy that when Satan runs up to kick it, he'll break his leg.
That is such a vivid image, Satan in a cast because the movement got too heavy.
But he grounds all of this in his reality at the time. He mentions being called into court and indicted. He's talking about the tax charges.
To the outside world, to the media in '82, it looked like the whole thing was crumbling. He says his opponents thought, finally, Reverend Moon is finished.
But he uses this soccer ball logic to flip the narrative completely. He claims that while he was being kicked in court, he bounced back with massive projects.
And he lists them off. It's really something.
Oh, he does. He mentions launching the Washington Times project. He talks about producing a movie, In John.
Which was a huge undertaking.
A massive one. In the text, he claims to have spent $1 billion on it. Now, fact checkers might say the budget was more like $46 million.
Which was still a huge amount of money for 1982.
Oh, yeah. But the rhetorical point is what matters. He's saying, you indict me, I'll spend a fortune on a Hollywood movie.
And then, just to top it all off, he mentions officiating a mass wedding of 2,000 couples at Madison Square Garden.
Right in the middle of all this legal heat.
Right. The point he's making is clear. You kick me with an indictment, I bounce back with a newspaper, a movie, and a mass wedding. The persecution validates the mission.
Precisely. If everyone liked him according to this logic, he might actually be doing something wrong.
It's a powerful psychological tool. I mean, it basically inoculates the movement against any criticism. If the world hates us, it just proves we're on God's team.
So if the strategy is to take the hit and bounce back, how do they actually engage with the world? Because being a soccer ball, that's passive. You're just being kicked.
Mm-hmm.
But then he shifts metaphors completely. He starts talking about his followers as high-level spies for heaven.
And this brings us to the second major theme, which is the world as hostile territory. Moon describes a world that's just full of barriers created by the fall of man.
Barriers between mind and body, men and women.
Nations and nations.
Yeah.
He has this great line about America. People think it's a melting pot, but he asks, is it really true? He sees barriers everywhere.
And the heavenly spy is the agent sent to cross those barriers.
But he makes a crucial distinction. A normal spy, a worldly spy, enters enemy territory to destroy it, to sabotage it. The heavenly spy enters to save it.
He says we are living in the midst of hostile territory known as the secular world. But the goal isn't conquest with guns, it's infiltration with love.
It's very Cold War rhetoric, but he applies it to theology. You have to remember the context. Moon positions himself as the only one squarely confronting communism.
He even throws a little shade at Billy Graham, doesn't he?
He does. He mentions Billy Graham visiting Russia and implies he became an unwitting tool of the leaders there. But Moon claims that he, on the other hand, would challenge them face to face.
He says the Kremlin sees him as a serious threat, that they want to kill him before he even gets near Moscow.
Which, again, fits perfectly into his persecution framework. If the Kremlin wants to kill you, well, you must be doing something right for God.
But notice his solution to communism. It's not kill the commies.
No, never. He says, we never talk about killing the commies. We talk about saving the commies. It's an ideology of absorption. He wants to melt the enemy.
And the primary tool for that melting process, it's not diplomacy.
No, it's marriage.
Okay, let's unpack the blessing. This is probably what the group is most famous for, the mass weddings. But in this text, it's not really about romance, is it? It sounds more like a geopolitical strategy.
It absolutely is. In the speech, Moon draws this sharp contrast with Catholicism. He notes that the Catholic Church promotes celibacy for priests and nuns as the highest spiritual path.
Right.
But Moon emphasizes marriage as the only way to salvation.
Because if the problem was the breakdown of the family at the very beginning, the solution has to be fixing the family.
Right. And he treats marriage as a tool to force unity between enemy groups. He talks about marrying French people to Germans.
Historical enemies, especially after the World Wars.
Exactly. Or creating interracial marriages. He's very explicit about this. He says when black parents see their son marrying a white girl, they might be stunned. But eventually, through the grandchildren, the prejudice just melts away.
He calls it a love ladder. The idea is you break down these historical racial barriers by literally mixing the bloodlines.
But here's the controversial part, right? The matching. He addresses the elephant in the room. Why let him, true parents, choose your spouse?
Which to a Western audience sounds like a complete violation of your autonomy.
Totally. But his explanation is, it's fascinatingly efficient. He describes it as a shortcut. He claims that he and his wife have already broken down all the barriers. They've done the spiritual heavy lifting.
He uses this analogy of a jungle versus a superhighway.
That's it. He says if you try to find your own spouse, you're just hacking through the jungle of your own prejudices and your own barriers. You're lost.
But if you accept his match, you're just hopping on the superhighway. You inherit his victory instantly. It's a fast track to restoration.
But it comes with very strict rules. He says you cannot ask to be rematched.
No returns.
It's an act of absolute faith. He says if you reject the match or ask for a new one, you're denying the covenant. Even if the marriage is difficult, he argues that God will reward you in other ways, maybe through your children.
It's a no returns policy on marriage. And speaking of difficult marriages, we have to talk about the aesthetic section.
Yeah.
This part of the speech, it actually made me laugh out loud. It's so unexpected.
It is surprisingly blunt.
Moon goes on this whole tangent about looks versus heart. And he basically tells the women, don't look for a handsome man.
He argues that rough-looking or even ugly people are more genuine. He says a beautiful person is likely to be bland, boring, or arrogant.
There's this one vivid quote where he says a rough-looking man might cut off his own nose to give to his wife, but a handsome man might just run away to save his face.
It's hyperbole, of course, but it serves his point. He's trying to rewire their entire value system. The secular world values beauty and self-gratification. He wants them to value sacrifice and living for the sake of others.
He even says God prefers the less attractive couple that creates harmony over a superior-looking couple that just fights all the time.
It's a very populist appeal in a way. He's telling his followers, you don't need to be elite or beautiful or wealthy. You just need to be genuine. He asks the women, how about a rough-looking man and a homely woman? And says that's where you find the real breeding.
Genuine breed, he calls it. It's a complete inversion of the Hollywood romance.
Which brings us to the practical application of all of this. So you're a super soccer ball, you're a heavenly spy, you've been matched in a blessing. Now what do you actually do on a Tuesday afternoon?
The home church.
This is the mechanism of salvation in the text. It's not enough to just believe, you have to serve.
And he gives them a specific number. Each couple must serve 360 homes.
He calls it a microcosm of the world. The logic is, it's numerical and symbolic. He connects it to the 120 nations, the 12 apostles. It's this whole numerology thing. But the instruction is very practical.
And counterintuitive again. He says, don't go to those who welcome you.
Right. If you go to the nice people, you aren't achieving restoration. You have to go to the people who persecute you, the people who slam the door in your face.
And he says you have to serve them. Sew buttons on their jackets, polish their shoes, drive their trucks.
He specifically mentions a tiny Mooney woman driving a truck for a tired driver. The goal is to serve them so completely that they have no choice but to trust you.
He says you eventually learn their secrets.
That's the pivot point. He claims that by being the ultimate servant, you become the master. He says the master of the house will eventually come to you with his problems. You become the central figure because everyone starts to rely on you.
It's conquest through service. You win by being the lowest person in the room until you become the most indispensable person in the room.
Precisely. And he uses this final analogy of an Apollo rocket. The home church is the launching pad. You can't get to the kingdom of heaven. You can't launch without this foundation of 360 homes where you've won over the enemy through service.
So if we step back and look at the whole picture here, we have this loop. You accept that people will hate you. That's the soccer ball. You go into their territory, the spy. You serve them until they rely on you. That's home church. And you unite with someone totally different from you, the blessing.
And if you do all of that, Moon promises you will possess heaven and earth.
It's a staggering claim.
It is, and it relies entirely on what he calls restoration by indemnity. This idea that you have to pay a price to fix the past. Adam and Eve messed up by being selfish. Well, you fix it by being absolutely selfless. The world is full of hate. You fix it by marrying your enemy.
It's a worldview where nothing is casual. Your marriage isn't just about you, it's about world peace. Your job isn't just a job, it's a spy mission.
And your pain isn't just bad luck, it's a strategic victory against Satan.
That's the power of it. It gives this cosmic significance to suffering. If you're being persecuted, it doesn't mean you're wrong. In this framework, it actually proves you were right.
And that explains why the movement could survive things like indictments and bad press. It was all part of the script.
The script was written so that the antagonist, Satan, always attacks first.
Exactly. So an attack just means the play is going according to plan.
It's a fascinating look at how a belief system can protect itself and really motivate its followers. Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. We live in a world that is obsessed with winning, with clapping back, with being on the offense.
Definitely. It's all about dominance.
This text proposes the exact opposite, winning by taking the hit. And it raises a provocative question. What would it actually look like to view losing or being the soccer ball not as a failure, but as the only real way to win the game?
It's a radical concept. Dangerous in some hands, I'm sure, but powerful in others. It certainly makes you rethink the nature of conflict.
It sure does. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time. Keep exploring.